Now, does that say anything about the value of land? Not much. But it says an awful lot about whether or not we're going to be able to enjoy land, or to enjoy a house, or to enjoy our car. It depends on if I'm trying to extract the very meaning of my existence out of my statement of net worth, then somehow I'm going to miss the joy. That is just too risky.
Hello again, everybody. This is Heartbeats, the podcast, featuring insight and teaching from the more than 50 years of work done by Landon Saunders. In the early years of Heartbeat, Landon would sit down once a month and record an audio message for friends of Heartbeat. Today we pick up where we left off in our last episode in one of those messages, and Landon is discussing how joy reshapes relationships.
We mustn't forget that joyless people are no fun to be with, and that joy is the foundation of relationships. And so, if you're no fun to be with, now, as you look back, you can almost trace the joyfulness of your life, or the absence of joy, through your relationships. If we are to live in relationship, then we must be educated for joy. How is this so tragically missed? Well, part of the reason is we've lost sight of what a human being is for. A human being is not created to be used or exploited. A human being is not to be owned. Well, then what are human beings for? Don't you know? Human beings are created for one thing: enjoyment. And because this point was missed by another person, you may have been taken advantage of, victimized, hurt, mistreated, and much of that happened before you had any say in the matter. You missed a lot of joy because of others. And so what can you do now? Well, you got to find a new way to give shape to your world. Your world has to take on new dimensions. And to do that, you must reconsider joy and what it means. Because through joy, you can change the shape, literally, of all your relationships. Now, I've mentioned words like worldview and things that hold your world together, and the shape of your world. You know that you do have a worldview. Now, you may not have put it in so many words, but you have some basis for approaching your life as you do, some basis for approaching relationships as you do. And I wonder if you've thought it through. There are 4 questions that I want to give you now that will help us come to a better understanding of our world view. And I think if we understand them, they'll help us develop a more satisfying way to live. You shape your world with the way you think about these 4 questions. Here they are. The first: how do you view your world? Do you feel it's a world in which you can win, or a world in which you're destined to fail no matter what you do? Is your basic attitude one of triumph or defeat? Now, the way you answer the question, how do you view your world, gives shape to your world. Do you see the world going to joy for your own personal life, or joylessness? Think about it. The second question: what is your view of happiness? Is it possible for you? Is it something you hope to get someday? Are you trying so hard to be happy that you're miserable? How does a human being find happiness? And the third question: how do you view religion? Have you tried it and found that it didn't work? Is your view of religion personal, or is it tied to external? If you have any negative view of religion, does it center on the religious dimension of your life specifically, or does it center on the many obvious failures of organized religion? How do you view religion? And the fourth question: what is your view of money? Do you like it? Is your life basically organized around making money, whether it's making ends meet, or trying to get rich, or trying to get richer? Does making money determine what you think of yourself? What you think others think of you? Is there anything out of balance in your view of money? Now, no one can answer these questions for you. Others can assist you, encourage you, but you can't pass the responsibility off to any teacher, parent, religious leader, or counselor. And you certainly can't depend upon society to supply the answers for you. Taking these questions seriously can bring great adventure to your life, and the adventure will enhance your own sense of uniqueness and will strengthen your sense of purpose on the planet. Take the questions seriously But may I warn, not too seriously. Have fun with them. Our approach to the things we own that I just mentioned, it tells us a lot about our worldview, and I'd like to amplify that a bit. You see, the problem with owning things is usually not with the things themselves. The problem is the way we view things. Sometimes the things we own us. We become the servant instead of the owner. For example, you want a Mercedes and you sacrifice everything to get it. You exclude everything else in your life just to get the Mercedes. It takes over your mind and it dictates to you. Possessions can be a terrible master. When the things we own us, we run the terrible risk of destroying our inner life and our relationships and even our health. One of the most obvious symbols of things is land. Have you ever thought about how seductive land is?
Landon will be back in just a moment. But first, we want to encourage you to visit our website, thisisheartbeat.com. You'll find additional information about Landon's work and resources that are also available. That's thisisheartbeat.com. Now, let's get back to Landon.
Tolstoy tells the story of a man named Packham who wanted all the land he could possibly get. He'd heard stories about a people called the Vaskers in a faraway country who didn't know real estate values. So Packham took all of his money, traveled halfway around the world, and was brought to the chieftain of this tribe. And Packham drove his bargain. For 1,000 rubles, he could have all the land he could run around in a day. The only condition was he had to be back to the chieftain's village by sundown. Oh, that night Packham could hardly sleep. He would be a great landowner. The next day he would circle an empire, and his dream would be fulfilled. Well, early the next morning he arose as the first rays of the sun broke over the horizon, and he began running across the landscape. He wanted to take in the entire kingdom. He ran and ran and ran until his sides hurt, and then he ran some more. By noon he was walking, and the sun was so hot. Late in the afternoon he suddenly realized that he had circled far from the chieftain's village, and the only way he could possibly get back by sundown was to run as hard as he could run. And so he started running, and he ran until he thought his heart would just explode. And finally, seconds before sundown, he stumbled into the chieftain's village and fell down. He was dead. The bit of land that Packham now needed was measured off. The distance from his head to his feet, in the end, is all the land that a man needs. Now, does that say anything about the value of land? Not much. But it says an awful lot about whether or not we're going to be able to enjoy land, or to enjoy a house, or to enjoy our car. It depends on if I'm trying to extract the very meaning of my existence out of my statement of net worth. Then somehow I'm going to miss the joy. That is just too risky. Now, I won't give you a test every time we have one of these chats, but I want to give you a test that will help you to decide whether you're winning or losing. Here's the first test. To win as a person, you must live for something that circumstances cannot destroy. I like the way George Bernard Shaw said it. People are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. The people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, they make them. To win as a person, you must live for something that circumstances of your life can't get to and destroy. Do you have that? Here's the second test. To win as a person, you must live for something death can't defeat. Now, don't worry if you don't finish off on this one in a few moments. Let me ask you, what is the most significant thing you've done in your life? One man answered the question by what he ordered put on his tombstone, and that was, Bowled 300, June 12, 1962. Perfect bowling score, but for a life? Test number 3. To win as a person, you must be willing to die for what you've chosen to live for. You are investing your life in something. But is it worth it? You say, now, Landon, this is just a little bit too heavy. These things are too theoretical. No, they're not. They're really just very fundamental. Let me review the three that we've covered so far. To win as a person, you must live for something that circumstances can't destroy. Of course you can find that. And to win as a person, you must live for something death can't defeat. There are some things yet that haven't been defeated by death. And to win as a person, you must be willing to die for what you've chosen to live for. People have been doing that as long as they've existed. It just may be that you haven't found that thing to live for that you'd die for. Find it. It'll certainly simplify your life. Now let's go on to the fourth one. To win as a person, whatever you have chosen to live for must enhance all of the important relationships of your life. If you're living for something that doesn't strengthen the important relationships that you have, you're living for the wrong thing. Superior choices of things to live for nourish and enrich all of your relationships, your personal life, your health, your marriage, your children, your friends. You have time for everything that is important. The fifth test, this is the last one. To win as a person, whatever you've chosen to live for must encourage your growth to the very last day of your life. To improve until you're 40, listen, it's not good enough. To improve until you retire, that's not good enough either. To improve as long as you're healthy or wealthy or young, not good enough. Well, that's the test. What do you think of it? Don't spend too much time on it. Have fun with it or leave it alone. You have plenty of time to think it through, and you'll be delighted with what it means to your life, and so will others. And so don't discard it because it's a little elusive or difficult. Tackle it and have fun. But for most of us, the problem probably isn't winning and succeeding. It's really the attitude that we have towards failure. Our approach to failure is one of the primary reasons why we aren't more fun to be with.
And that's where we'll pick up with our next episode. Be sure and join us. This podcast is produced and made possible by Friends of Heartbeat, who invite you to visit the website thisisheartbeat.com, where you'll find additional information about Landon's work and other materials that are available at no cost. If you enjoyed today's material, we invite you to rate, follow, and review the podcast wherever you get your material. It helps as others begin to seek the same kind of information. And of course, we hope to see you again next time on This is Heartbeat, the podcast.